So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital.
This was not someone who I vacationed with and who he and I enjoyed brotherhood. This is someone who destroyed my life.
50 Cent, Kesha, Whoopi, Usher, and so many more members of the Hollywood elite have things to say about the arrest of Puff Daddy. Curtis James Jackson III, well, you know him as 50 Cent, is one big name who's had a long-standing hatred for Puff Daddy. So this all started with his diss track back in 2006, which alleged that Puffy was connected to the passing of Biggie Smalls. And in October of 2023, 50 Cent elaborated on his beef, describing the parties he threw as uncomfortable. During his final lap tour, 50 Cent said Puff Daddy would hug you from the front and the back at the same time. And he's been a lot more vocal about Puffy following the raids earlier this year. He also allegedly sold a docuseries to Netflix entitled Diddy Do It? If we're gonna talk conspiracies, 50 Cent has claimed that Puff Daddy kinda caused the end of the life of Tupac. Again, there isn't much backing this up, although somebody was also very skeptical of Puff Daddy when they were alive. Speaking with Vibe magazine in 1995, he was asked if he thought Puff Daddy was connected to the previous year in certain incidents. And he didn't hold back. He was like, yeah, I believe so. But he added that that's between me and him and only Puff Daddy knows. Well, about a year later, somebody was involved in an awful event, this one proving end of life worthy. The person who was arrested for the passing in 2023 once said that Puff Daddy offered $1 million to carry out the crimes that we're talking about. Whether or not Puff Daddy was involved, these words paint the portrait of quite the man. Cassie Ventura was in a relationship with Puff Daddy from 2007 till 2018. Looks at his 11 years. There's a lot there. There had been signs of trouble in paradise. In 2015, Cassie posted a photo with the caption, "How I sleep knowing I'm single and nobody cheating on me." The next year, it was reported that the two were seen arguing very publicly in Beverly Hills. 5 years after the final breakup, Cassie finally filed her lawsuit against Puff Daddy. This is a lawsuit that specifically accused him of all kinds of domestic violence, all kinds of harm and battery, gender-motivated violence, harassment, gender discrimination, a hostile work environment, and other charges that I can't talk about. And although Puff Daddy obviously denied these claims, the lawsuit would be settled out of court. But that was not the end. Footage from 2016 surfaced, seemingly depicting Puffy viciously harming Cassie. He did issue an apology, and a lot of folks are like, this is the beginning of the end. His attorney, Ben Brafman, said in a statement emailed to CNN that Puffy, denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. For the 6 months before that, he was subjected to Cassie's persistent demand of $30 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was rejected as blackmail. Now, despite withdrawing her initial threat, Cassie has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish his reputation and seeking a payday. Well, when it came to what Cassie had to say on socials, she didn't seem like somebody looking for a payday or a couple minutes of fame. She kept it very professional. She mentioned how she will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law, and hopefully this is the beginning of a process that will hold Puff Daddy responsible for his depraved conduct. So while Puff Daddy has faced a lot of accusations throughout the years, Lil Rod was among the first to take serious legal action, contributing to the mogul's current circumstances. So he was a producer on the Love album, Off the Grid, and according to Lil Rod, he endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer. He alleged that Puff repeatedly grabbed at him, made him participate in unwanted activities, including having to work in the bathroom as Puffy showered. What's more, Jones claimed that he woke up undressed in bed with Puffy and two professionals after being slipped a little something. And the lawsuit that he filed also implicates Puffy's descendant, Justin Dior, and Chief of Staff Christina Karam. She was also accused of some things that I can't talk about. So when Usher was just getting his foot in the music industry's door, he spent some time living with Puff Daddy and has opened up about his experiences. I think there was an interview with Howard Stern, and he was like, sure, yeah, it sounded like a blast, but he also hinted at something a little more sinister beneath the surface. He didn't understand what he was looking at parties, curious things were taking place, and I think the most telling thing was that he made it clear that he wouldn't want anybody in his family attending Puffy camp like their father, which is interesting considering who he dropped off at Puffy camp. Whoopi Goldberg called Puffy's 14-page indictment extensive and disturbing during the talk. Fellow co-host Sunny Hostin said Puffy was involved in, let's just say, organized crime-like behavior in terms of referring to the indictment. Whoopi said they're describing a criminal enterprise that involved a lot of awful things, and they dubbed them freak-offs, which yeah, that's a pretty choicey word. She mentioned in detail what the raid found, the raids, and just in general, overall negative comments. Kesha made a TikTok video reacting to the news of the arrest earlier this year, using her song that was aptly titled TikTok that featured new lyrics, because the original ones kind of mentioned Puff Daddy. So she debuted the new version at Coachella earlier this year, and the original lyrics read, "Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy." And now she says, "Wake up in the morning like F.P. Diddy." And she's saying that while holding up her middle finger to the camera and smiling before blowing a kiss. So Wendy Williams had something to say. Her quote was, "What is really weird is that I have been told by so many people, 'Wendy, you called it.'" This is what she said on October 1st when she was asked about the scandal. And she was like, yeah, she called it. And those comments included people from her family who have said the same. She said it's about time that Puff Daddy's actions were brought to light. She recalled seeing the video of Puff Daddy harming Cassie go around the internet, calling it just horrific. She noted that seeing the video made her wonder, but now you have to think, how many more times, how many more people, how many more women, how many victims? It's just so horrible. Damon Dash, the Rockefeller Records co-founder, addressed a resurfaced photo of him attending a party hosted by Puffy with Jennifer Lopez and Jay-Z, saying he didn't really go to those parties. He went to one in the Hamptons about 20 years ago with Aaliyah, and that was about it. But he's like, there's a lot of people at those, you know what I mean? And he continued on to say, ain't seen anything happen in the Hamptons. He said that was the day he met Aaliyah, they hung out, they left, and that's what happened. It was 20 years ago, it wasn't in LA, it wasn't in Miami. And he's like, look, I know everybody's gonna play games with those photos, it's all good, I don't really care. He went on to call the arrest of Puff Daddy sad and shocking, adding that people will sit there and watch people do things that could be immoral, but until they get caught, no one says anything. Whether it's illegal or immoral, for me, I just break out. I don't wait for people to get busted. I don't wait for someone else to say that they're doing something wrong. Romeo Miller spoke to TMZ about the arrest back in September, saying, "From my experience, I would say that you've always got to apologize if you do wrong in any way. You've got to go to that person behind closed doors and try to make it right. Nobody's perfect, but justice always comes around. So you have to do your best part when you know you messed up or effed up. Try to make it right. God forgives all, but humans, it's a little bit harder for us to forgive. We all make the bed that we lay in." Aubrey O'Day alleged that Puff Daddy, controlled her appearance and other things while filming Making the Band. The former Danity Kane songstress recently got candid about the criticism she faced while working on the MTV reality series in 2005, and Puffy was an executive producer on the show. She said, "Looking back at the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I became the gorgeous one." Puffy was on camera telling him how much he hated everything, but off camera he was telling her all the ways she needed to be groomed properly, down to her toenails, which is very specific and very weird. Aubrey alleged that the I'll Be Missing You rapper labeled her the looker of the band and once sent her out of the studio because her toes weren't properly polished. She alleged that all of this was part of the cycle of harm. She mentioned how with Puffy she saw multiple sides of him, but she doesn't know who she was even talking to that was sober. There was always an element of something going on. And that's all for today, folks. We'll see you next time.